Let's go to the global chair of Bondi Partners, former US Ambassador Joe Hockey now. He's standing by for us in Sydney. Good to see you, Mr. Hockey. First of all, what does this deal mean for Australia?
Well, it means that anyone that wants to mess with Australia is going to get a bloody nose. And the message out of this is we will spend whatever it takes and do whatever it takes and have access to the best technology in order to defend our families, our community and our nation.
We just heard Richard Marles there, and I think it was the most ominous warning he has given since becoming Defence Minister, saying there is the biggest conventional build-up in our region. This is not Australia's doing. Australia needs to step up. He's explicitly referring to China there. This is what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, yes, Laura, it is. You know, when we sat in the National Security Committee in 2013, having to deal with a massive problem in Australia's naval capacity, ability to build its own fleet, and what was known as the Valley of Death, the fact that we'd stopped building our own ships. When we were dealing with that, it was inconceivable that we would firstly have access to US nuclear propulsion technology, and secondly, that we can convince the Australian people to support it. Now, what's changed? Well, from a time when we were negotiating a free trade agreement with China until now, we've seen China bully up on us. They've tried to intimidate us, they've stopped importing our goods, they've stopped travel, they've tried to do everything they can to intimidate us. And the Morrison government and the Turnbull government to some degree, but also obviously the Albanese government, have stood up to them. And in doing so, we are saying, if you want to raise the stakes on us, we will respond. Now, we are responding with the best military technology in the world outside of nuclear weapons, and we are responding in a way that sends a message that Australia is going to protect its interests.
Sure, but if China is a threat now, what are 8 nuclear submarines in 20 to 30 years going to do?
It's going to change the dynamics. The thing about a nuclear submarine, and these submarines in particular, is that they can travel faster and further than any current capability Australia has, and most other nations have. Secondly, we have the capacity to launch from these submarines Tomahawk missiles, which have a range of 1,800 kilometres and can be launched from the sea onto land. And obviously, our submarine fleet can't do that. Also, these submarines can travel in a stealth-like fashion more successfully than arguably a number of other conventional submarines. So what this does is it gives us a capacity to have an offensive force in the water that matches our F-35 offensive capability in the air.
Okay,
and
sure, but Mr. Hockey, if that's
force,
not for a couple
then we are
of
protecting ourselves.
Yeah, but if that's not for another 20 years, is what happens now? Is this AUKUS deal, is the partnership with the UK and the US in and of itself, do you think that acts as a deterrent? Because we are loudly saying we're not alone here, we've got 2 very powerful partners.
Well, the US spends more on defence than the next 12 nations combined. They've got more than 1,500 bases around the world compared to China's 1 base outside of China. But China's growth in expenditure on defence, and obviously now Russia's aggression, and the aggression of other nations that represent a potential threat to Australia and its interests, that growth is posing significant challenges for Australia and for our allies. And what we've got to do is protect our interests. And pairing up with the best technology from the most powerful nation in the world is the most obvious way to do it. I mean, if you're in a melee, you want the best fighter by your side, fighting with you, not against you.
That's right. We're going to speak to Mick Mulvaney, who I know is a good friend of yours and also at Bondi Partners with you, about what it means with elections, what Donald Trump would mean to the AUKUS deal. Do you think through the varying elections, you know, in the three countries and the changing politics, is this deal solid over the 30 years?
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Look, this is an operational alliance, a partnership at an operational level. It goes beyond the politics of any one president. In fact, from the time of the AUKUS announcement until now, 2 of the 3 leaders have changed. And still there is this strong bond between nations because it's based on fundamental operational issues. And it will continue to be. This is good for the United States because it extends their alliances, it extends their reach. And the US's great strength versus any adversary is its allies, and we are its closest ally. The same with the United Kingdom. This is a great partnership, and congratulations to the Albanese government. It is built on the great work of Scott Morrison, but it's going to rely on the great work of Liberal and Labor Prime Ministers for many years to come.
It certainly will. On that note, Joe Hockey, great to talk to you. We'll speak to you soon.